Well, good evening. I hope everybody's taking care of themselves, taking care of their families, helping out around the house. I know things are kind of crazy now. School is closed and everyone's a little scared and a little nervous. So let's have a bedtime story or a story for whatever time it is, and maybe this will help. Helping is what this story is all about. Because I know that when everyone's stuck at home, everyone's asked to help a lot. So, this is a story about helping and what happens when we help and what happens when we don't help. Once upon a time, there was a kingdom, a wonderful kingdom. In fact, this kingdom was like paradise. It was the most wonderful place in the world. Not because it was any more beautiful than any other place, not because it had anything more special than any other place, except one thing. In this kingdom, everyone helped. When a friend needed help from a friend would come and say, "Let me help you. What can I do?" When a neighbor needed help from a neighbor would come and say, "Let me lend you a hand and see what I can do to help." Even a stranger, when a stranger needed help, somebody came and said, "Let me help you. Let me be there with you." And the reason why this kingdom was such a place of helping had to do with the king. You see, it was ruled by an old king who was a wise man. The king had learned that the more he helped people, the more they helped each other. That the way he treated people would be the way they treated each other. And so, whenever anybody came to the king and said, "Can you help me? I have a problem. I need a hand. I need some strength." Well, the king would listen very carefully, and the king would try and help. And sometimes he would have a solution, an answer, but sometimes just listening was enough help. The king always showed that he cared, always showed that he was concerned, and always tried to help. And because of that, everybody in this kingdom helped each other. Friends helped friends, neighbors helped neighbors, and everybody helped strangers. And then one day the king got old, and well, it was time for the king to retire and to stop being king. So the prince, his son, became the ruler of the land. And he was a different kind of character. Wasn't as wise as his father, and certainly not as caring. In fact, the very first day that the new prince ruled the land, people came to him and said, our prince, we need your help. There is a part of the kingdom where the water has turned poisonous. Somehow poison got into the streams and people have nothing to drink. Prince, you have to help us. We have to help these people. We have to help." The prince listened, and he took a glass and he poured himself a big glass of water, and he took a sip and he said, "They have no water? I have water. They have no water? I'm sorry, but that's not my problem." The people who came to the prince were astonished. But, prince, they have no water. They're going to get sick. We have to help them." "I'm sorry," said the prince. "It's not my problem." And those people, they went away. And then other people came. "Prince, we have a problem. There's a part of the kingdom where the food has died on the vine. The trees are dying of drought, so there's no water. And people are going to starve. We have to find food for these people. We have to reach out and help these people. We have to do something. We have to do something." The prince looked at the people who came to him, and he reached across and he took an apple off the tray in front of him and took a big bite of the apple. A big bite of the apple. He said, "They have no food? Well, I'm sorry, but that's not my problem." But Prince, if they have no food, they'll starve. If they have no food, how will they feed their families? If they have no food, how are they going to live?" And the prince simply said, "Well, I'm sorry, but that's not my problem." And sure enough, just as the old king knew, the way that the prince treated his people became the way that they all treated each other. Whenever a neighbor came to a neighbor, whenever a friend came to a friend, and of course, whenever a stranger came to anybody and said, "Can you help me? I have a problem. I need a hand. I need some help," people would just look at them and say, "You have a problem? Well, I'm sorry, but that's not my problem. It's not my problem." And that's the way people treated each other. And guess what? Soon the kingdom that was once paradise, that was once the most wonderful place on earth, well, that kingdom became a terrible place. A terrible place. Because whenever anyone needed something, whenever anyone needed some help, whenever anyone needed a hand, whenever anyone had a problem, well, they would reach out and all they would hear is, "I'm sorry, but that's not my problem." It became a terrible place. And what was really strange was that everyone forgot. They forgot the old king. And they forgot the way it used to be. And they forgot how people used to help people. And they forgot how friends helped friends and neighbors helped neighbors. And they forgot how even a stranger could get help in the kingdom. They forgot whenever anyone would say, "Gee, it's not like it used to be." Well, they'd say, "Well, that's just human nature. People don't help other people. People don't care about other people. People don't reach out and help others. That's human nature. It's just the way it is, and you can't ever change it." That's what everybody said. It's just the way it is, and you can't ever change it. And they believed that. Everyone believed that, except one man. Old fisherman. Oh, yes. Fisherman remembered the old days. He remembered the days when the king really showed how much he cared for his people. He remembered the old days when a friend could get help from a friend, and a neighbor could get help from a neighbor, and even a stranger could get help when they needed it. Fisherman remembered the old days, and he wanted so much to bring back that way of helping and that way of caring. He wanted so much to teach them, but what was he supposed to do? He was just one man. And how can one man change everything? One old fisherman teach a whole kingdom how to live and how to care. And then one day, he had an idea. You see, fisherman had an old fishing boat, which he didn't use anymore. And he always had an idea that one day he'd like to fix it up and make it nice and make it into a yacht, a beautiful boat. And he had an idea. So he took all the money he could find in his house and he went to the maritime store and he bought some paint and tools and started working on his boat. And pretty soon that old fishing boat was kind of beautiful. And people would come by and say, "Fisherman, what a beautiful yacht you're building. Can you take us all for a ride?" "Oh, yes," fisherman said. "I'm going to take you for a ride. We're all going to go for a sail on the lake, I promise you." "Well, we just can't wait. You let us know when that day comes." And fisherman, he painted his boat and he worked on his boat until it was just gorgeous. It was beautiful. And he put up a big sign in the town square. "Fisherman invites everyone to come and take a ride on his yacht on the lake this Sunday. Bring a picnic, bring a beach ball, bring your family, Bring your friends. We'll all go out for a day on the lake to celebrate fishermen's new boat. And so the day came, and it was a bright and sunny day, and everyone was so excited, and they all got on fishermen's boat. Fishermen raised the sails of the boat, and out onto the lake they all sailed. It was beautiful. People put on their bathing suits and lay out in the sun. They played volleyball on the boat. Some people went fishing off the boat. It was a beautiful day. And everyone said, "Thank you, fishermen. What a nice thing you've done inviting us to enjoy this beautiful day on your boat." And then, in the afternoon, it got a little colder. The wind started to blow and the boat started to rock. And people said, "Fishermen, maybe it's a good time to go home. Maybe we've had enough. Maybe it's time to get back to the shore." Fishermen said, "I think you're right. Only one more thing I need to do. We have to initiate. We have to dedicate my new boat. So let's do this." And he went to his toolbox and he got out a big drill, hand drill. And he put the bit into the drill and he went right to the middle of the boat and he put the bit down into the middle of the boat and he began to drill. He began to drill a hole in the bottom of the boat. People came by and said, "Excuse me, fisherman, I don't know anything about boats, but what happens when you finish drilling that hole in the bottom of the boat?" Fisherman looked up and said, "I don't know. We'll all have to find out, I guess." And people said, "Fisherman, excuse me, again, I'm not an expert in these things. You certainly are. I'm not. But it seems to me that when you drill a hole in the bottom of the boat, the water from the lake is going to come into the boat. And as the boat fills with water, it's entirely possible that the boat's going to sink into the lake. And if the boat sinks into the lake, we're all going to drown." The fisherman said, "Yeah, that could happen." "Fisherman, why would you do such a thing? Why would you put us on a boat and take us on the lake and then drown us in the lake?" Fisherman said, "Because it's my boat. And it's my day. And this is what I want to do. It's my day to be happy, and this is what makes me happy. This is what I want to do." And people started to scream, and they started to cry, and then someone had an idea. "Go find the prince. The prince is on the boat. He came with us. Go find the prince." And sure enough, the prince walked over in his very princely way and said, "Good afternoon, fisherman. What is it that you're doing?" The fisherman looked up and he said, "Well, I'm drilling a hole in my boat." "Fisherman, why are you drilling this hole in the boat?" The fisherman said, "Because I feel like it. It makes me happy to drill a hole in my boat." And the prince reasoned with him and said, "Fisherman, seems to me, and if you drill that hole in the bottom of the boat, the water from the lake is going to enter the boat. It's going to fill the boat, and the boat's going to sink." Fisherman looks up and says, "Yes, that's entirely possible. In fact, that's probably what's going to happen." And now the prince began kind of excited, and he stopped being such a prince, and he just sort of sounded like any other scared guy. He said, Fisherman, if this boat drowns, I don't want to die. I don't want to drown in the lake. I don't want to get eaten by a shark. I don't want to do that. Fisherman, what gives you the right to do this?" And fisherman said, "What do you mean, what gives me the right? It's my boat, and it's my drill, and it's my hole, and it's my day, and that's what I want to do. Now get out of the light. I want to see what I'm doing." And he blew away, and he kept drilling, and the prince at this point, he just lost it. He just lost everything. "Fisherman, stop this right now. It's a terrible thing to do. It's a terrible thing to drown us all in the lake. It's a terrible thing to drill that hole and watch the boat sink. It's a terrible, terrible thing. Fisherman, you've got to stop this right now because I don't want to drown. I don't want to get eaten by an octopus. No, fisherman, no." The fisherman looked up at the prince and said, You don't want to drown?" "No!" "You don't want to get eaten by a fish?" "No!" "You're afraid of drowning in the lake?" "Yes!" And then fisherman, very quietly said those words, which he just hated so much. But only once would he ever say them. He looked up at the prince and said, "You don't want to drown?" "No!" "You don't want to get eaten by a fish?" "No!" "You don't want to sink to the bottom of the lake?" "No!" And Fisherman said, "Well, I'm sorry, but that's not my problem. It's not my problem." And the prince looked at him and said, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Fisherman? Look, Fisherman, if you have a problem, I have a problem. And if I have a problem, you have a problem. Because if anybody has a problem, everybody has a problem. Fisherman, can't you see? We're all on the same boat." Fisherman looked at the prince and said, "What did you just say?" And the prince said it again, and he listened this time. "Fisherman, if you have a problem, I have a problem. If I have a problem, you have a problem. Because if anybody has a problem, everybody has a problem. Because we're all on the same boat." Fisherman said, "Yes, yes, that's the truth. That's the truth I wanted you to know. Now I want everybody to say it. Everybody on the boat." Fisherman said, "If I have a problem," everyone said it, "you have a problem. And if you have a problem, then I have a problem. Because if anybody has a problem, everybody has a problem. Because we're all on the same boat." "Yes," said Fisherman. "Yes. You know what? Now we'll say it. You there, you listening to this story, you say it with me. If I have a problem, then you. And if you have a problem, then. Because if anybody has a problem, then. Because we're all on the same boat." "Yes," said Fisherman. "That's the truth. That's the truth. That's what makes the world a place we can live in." "Okay, we're done now." And Fisherman pulled up his drill just before it broke through the bottom of the boat, put the drill back in his toolbox, lifted up the sails, and the yacht sailed back to the town. When that boat docked, an amazing thing happened. You know what Fisherman did? He did magic that day, because the people who got off that boat were very different people than the people who got on earlier in the day. The people who got on earlier in the day didn't care, didn't help. But now things were different. Whenever a friend needed something from a friend would say, "Hey, let me come and help you." Whenever a neighbor needed anything, neighbors would come and say, "Let us help." And even a stranger came and said, "I need some help." Everybody came and said, "We're here to help you." Why? Because if I have a problem, you have a problem. And if you have a problem, I have a problem. Because if anybody has a problem, everybody has a problem. Because we're all on the same boat. I hope you'll remember that. Because as we're living together during this time, we got to really help each other. We got to really help each other. So if it's mom or dad or your brother, your sister, your grandma, your grandpa, your friend, if somebody has a problem, you got a problem. And if you have a problem, they have a problem. If anybody has a problem, everybody has a problem. Because we're sharing the same world. Be a helpful person. Be a helper. Be a partner. And be a good friend. Have a good night. See you before Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom. Have a good week. Take care.